Well, what's going on, gang? Welcome back to the Therapeutic Edge. It's really nice to have you here. This is just sort of a collection update. I've been on a Todd Begg kick lately. A number of years ago, Todd Begg came out with his Steelcraft series made by the folks at Riot. They are responsible for things like the Quaken here. This is, of course, a factory version of one of his customs. This is the Field Marshal. And I had one of these before, and I just didn't love it for a couple of reasons. I got one that was not all black. Anyway, so I thought I would, since I got another one, I thought I would share it with you just because that's what we do here. It is S35VN. It is running on IKBS bearings, which means inside here there are bearing races with open bearings, which means I will not take this apart unless I absolutely have to. It is a truly interesting blade design, very Todd Begg in its uniqueness, and it has what is one of the most comfortable handles of any of the knives I've ever owned. You guys know I sort of like this shape, right? This is just an exceptional cutting tool. Action is really good. And it's just cool looking. So let's take a look at what you get. Now, the interesting thing about these is that for a while, Knife Ship Free or DLT Trading, one of them had bought all of these, and was during the holidays, they would just blow them out. These are, or were, when you could get one, normally about $460, and I think I got mine originally for $220. Yeah, you can't get them for that much anymore, unfortunately. It's just a cool design. This is from before the Begg blowout. Todd Begg is no longer working with Todd Begg Knives. He's just making cut. Anyway, there's a lot of nonsense that went on there that I don't know anything about. I don't mean it's nonsense to them. I just mean I don't know anything about it. So we're just going to leave it alone. So let's take a look at what you get with the Field Marshal, and a new addition to my Todd Begg collection. And by the way, this is, as I mentioned, Todd Begg Week. I started with this on Monday. This, of course, is the Citadel, the War Junkie Citadel. This is interesting. Fantastic. This is the Field Marshal in the Steelcraft series. And I think we're going to end on a prototype from a while ago. This is another glimpse. This is the MiG Civilian. As you can see, this is a prototype. Anyway, let's move along. Stuff like this is getting harder and harder to come by. Knife companies are loath to make these giant knives like this because what sells really is stuff like this, right? So monsters like this, even from a few years ago, are from what I'm sort of calling the fearless age of knife making. When CNC got to the point where they could do it repetitively and quickly and really well, but they were still trying to work with a fair amount of shock value. This is absolutely one of those. Let's just knock the specs out while we're talking about it. On the Field Marshal here, you get 3.5 inches of cutting on 4 inches of S35VN. The grip area from behind that enormous choil is just about 3 3/4. You do have a forward choil that you can get to, and if you add that, 1, 2, 3, 4 3/4, right? So there's lots of room on this thing. It's got a marvelous landing spot right here for your thumb and the jimping. You can come forward on this blade really easily. Excuse me, I should keep it in camera for use. It is a really nice edge. Folks at Riot, of course, do a fantastic job, and these are hollow ground. So it is really, really slicey. These do pop up on eBay from time to time for about $400. I got to tell you, it's worth it. It's just a really good knife. It's got a really nice backspacer, as you can see, that has got this lovely patterning on it. It's got very traditional Todd Begg pocket clip with the ceramic ball. This carries exceptionally well for its size. It is a monster in the pocket. Well, let's get to that in a minute. Overall length, you are looking at 9 1/8 inches overall. Closed length on the Field Marshal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/8. Not bad, not small, but not bad. Closed profile. Closed profile is, of course, just ridiculous. This thing in the pocket is 1 3/4 inches. It is a really big knife. Let's do some size comparisons while we're talking about it. Let's just line it up sort of like that. Let's see. Here it is against the full-size Quaken from a number of years before. As you can see, these knives are very similar in length. The Quaken's a little bit longer. Of course, the Field Marshal is much bigger. Here it is against back with that glimpse. And as you can see, the glimpse is actually a little bit smaller. This is a 7.0. This is a big knife. This is an even bigger knife. Here it is against the Fox Eastwood Tiger, another monster that I happen to like quite a bit. And now that I've shared a bunch of knives with you that most of you have never seen, let's do some stuff you're more familiar with. Here it is against the full-size Grip. As you can see, the Field Marshal is just a monster compared to the Grip. Here it is against a Rat 1. And as you can see, right, even against the Rat 1, the Field Marshal is a much bigger knife. And finally, for you small knife fans out there, little tiny bug out. Right? It's just a big knife. It's just a big, big slicey knife, and I really like it. It's pokey if you need it to be, right? Got a nice tip on it. The hollow grind means it is incredibly slicey. The way that it is designed, you get an awful lot of that blade down on the table before it touches down, which means this thing is actually not that bad for food prep if you're into that sort of thing. It is a good multi-purpose cutting tool. The speed holes in the blade are very Todd Begg. A lot of people don't like them because it's a place for crap to build up, but it has always sort of been his style, and I'm not going to argue. If you don't want big holes in the blade, you could get the War Junkie here that only has one. It is a titanium frame lock. It does have a steel lock bar insert. Action from the folks at Riot is very, very good and very snappy. As I said, this is IKBS, which means these are loose bearings inside of bearing races between the scales and the blade. I took one of these apart once, and I won't do it again. I'm too clumsy. My odds of losing one of the bearings is just too high. So unless this thing suddenly stops working entirely, I will likely never take it apart. Because it is S35VN, it is relatively easy to sharpen, but of course it does hold an edge very, very well. This one looks to have the original factory edge on it. I got this in trade, so I'm not 100% sure, but if memory serves, this is the correct angle, and it looks just about factory to me. Got a lot of jimping across the top here, which is kind of where your thumb plants in, which is really nice. It's just a cool knife. I very much wish they were still making these. They won't. It's got a lanyard spot if you're into that sort of thing. Look at the milling on the titanium. Yeah, so this was $460 a long time ago, and I have to tell you, if Riot was to make a knife like this today, it would still be $450 or $460, absolutely. Just because of the amount of work that goes into it. The work on the blade, the hollow grind, the chamfering, the crowning of the spine, all of the, all of the jimping back through here, the milling on the back spacer, the milled clip that is in fact milled. It's got texture as well. I'm not sure that's going to show up. This is just a knife that took a lot of work to produce, and it shows. And I'm very glad to have one in the collection. Let's take a look at the blade stock thickness. I think, is that zeroed? Yeah. Yeah, that is damn near, it's 3.86 millimeters, almost 4 millimeters of S35VN. Nice thick blade stock. But because of that hollow grind, it comes down to an absolutely wonderful cutting edge. As I mentioned, the shape of the handle makes it exceptionally comfortable. You can feel the clip in your palm, and if you had thinner hands than mine, it might be a problem, but there's no hot spot there. It's just noticeable. You can hold this knife in any number of ways. Because of this fuller, you can spidey flick it as well as use the, you can roll it too if you're really into that sort of thing. But of course, look at the size of that flipper tab. Anyway, flipper tab works every time. This is just another piece of my sort of ever growing expanding Todd Begg collection. I don't know why I am so lit up with Todd Begg stuff right now, but I absolutely am. Life of a knife collector, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and actually end it here. This is a discontinued bit of excellence. It is the Steelcraft edition of the Field Marshal, designed by Todd Begg and made by the folks at Riot. It is a really nice design. I love it. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I will post a link to the place where I got it, which is, of course, my buddy Chris. He has an eBay store and a really good Instagram page. He is a knife bloodhound, as I mentioned before, so hit him up if you're looking for something in particular. Later on this week, we're going to take one more look at a Todd Begg. It is, well, a bit of a collector's item, as many of them are now. But we'll wrap that up on Friday. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.